The NASCAR revelations have been somewhat interesting. In a recent episode of the NASCAR on NBC podcast, racing veteran Kyle Petty goes deep into the dynamics of one of the sport's most decorated drivers, Denny Hamlin. Petty's comments shed light on an important facet of Hamlin's racing career, one that could be significant in his pursuit of the championship title. Buckle up as we explore the strategic details about Hamlin. But before that, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button for more whereabouts on NASCAR. Even though the Daytona circuit still has a faint whiff of burnt rubber and the 39 engines have barely had time to cool down, the NASCAR arena is getting heated with anticipation for the first playoff race. In the final race of the regular season, which was held at Daytona, 16 drivers qualified for the highly coveted playoffs. They will be seen in a competition for the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series Championship, in which speed, strategy, and skill will play important roles. Denny Hamlin is not someone to mess around with on the racecourse. The Joe Gibbs Racing veteran has competed in and won 50 Cup races over the course of his career, which spans 19 seasons. His victories include 3 Daytona 500s and 3 Southern 500s. In spite of all of his successes, Hamlin is just like every other legendary figure in that he has certain shortcomings. When discussing the playoff participants' championship chances, Kyle Petty mentioned Denny Hamlin's potential and backed the driver to win the championship if he worked on his Achilles heel. The comment made by the ex-racer and current commentator for NBC was, "I have all the faith in the world. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a great race car driver, but once again his Achilles heel." Pit road. Races ahead, yesterday, at Daytona. Can he? If he can have a clean pit road, no penalties, no bad pit stops, Denny Hamlin may lap the field and win this championship. Denny Hamlin and Kyle Petty haven't had the closest of friendships for their whole careers. Petty's good hopes for Hamlin would surprise many people despite the fact that they're very different from each other. When Petty reviews Hamlin's career, he finds that his theory that his pit stop issues could prevent him from winning a championship is well supported. So, can Hamlin and his team put the past behind them as they head into the playoffs? According to Kyle Petty, Hamlin has been involved in one fight too many before entering the pit road in the year 2023. The driver was given a number of tickets for breaking the speed limit many times and crossing the yellow line. His pit crew has also been responsible for many errors over the course of the year, which has led to lengthy pit stops that have deprived them of any opportunity to win. The most recent mishap occurred during the Coke Zero Sugar 400 when Hamlin was given a pass-through penalty for an infraction committed by a member of his pit crew, who came over the wall too early on lap 81. When Denny raced at Dover in May, he dropped over 21 positions on the pit road over the course of the entire race. In the Daytona 500, which took place a few months before that, the driver was discovered blaming a pit stop decision for costing him a win. And the action in question had the effect of removing him from the front-running group. More recently, he finished third in Michigan earlier this month, but his pit stop problems cost him the victory. He was found straining to get his engine started after his staff had finished working on the car, and he was unable to move after they had finished. The owner of 2311 Racing has had one too many opportunities to leave behind a better legacy for himself, but due to all these incidences and more, he has lost those opportunities. In spite of the fact that he has been racing for close to 20 years, he's never managed to win a NASCAR title. When you go to Darlington, you'll hear the echoes of yesterday and the promises of tomorrow. Let's wait and see whether Denny Hamlin is able to overcome his issues on the pit road and make Kyle Petty's prediction come true now that our expectations have been renewed. What do you think about Kyle Petty's harsh statements? Let us know in the comments. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell button for more updates. Talking about the recent issues in which Hamlin raised his voice seems to be resolved. Recently, Denny Hamlin talked about how safety has gotten better over the years, and praised NASCAR for its efforts to make sure drivers get hurt as little as possible. In the most recent episode of Actions Detrimental, Hamlin's co-host started talking about how the crash involving Ryan Blaney at Daytona would have turned out very differently 20 or 22 years ago, especially after what happened on the same track in 2001. Hamlin found it hard to compare the two situations. He described, "Certainly, the safety innovations that we come up with, the hands being the number one thing. I don't know if they're the hands or they're safer barriers. I would say probably the hands, but it's close. Just the head-neck restraint in general has changed the game and certainly made it safer as far as a fatal impact is concerned. But I mean, Blaney's taken some massive hits in the wall in the next gen. Lucky for us, we got to hear him talk in an interview afterward." Hamlin said Blaney's car turned more because NASCAR made changes to the front clip of the next-gen cars that made it collapse more than it would have last year. Before Dale Earnhardt Sr. died while driving in the Daytona Superspeedway, NASCAR and its member tracks had no problem with the concrete barriers. NASCAR didn't start the so-called safety change in the sport until after such a big shock. This is where the safer system and the requirements to use hands hurdles came into play. Since the safety measures were put in place, many NASCAR drivers have said that they saved their lives. Almost every racetrack now has these steel and foam energy reduction hurdles. They soften the blow if someone goes off the track and hits the wall. So, in a way, Earnhardt's sad and unfortunate death made it possible for people in the future to walk away from wrecks that would have been much worse before. Further talking about the playoffs and Hamlin's star driver, he didn't miss his chance this time. Bubba Wallace has been waiting a long time, but he has finally made it to the playoffs, but just barely. Wallace hasn't won a game during the regular season like he has in the past, but his steadiness and how he finishes races has helped him a lot this year. He only used points to get into the top 16 in the last spot. Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr. are racing for the stage win, and they're fighting hard because the regular season title is at stake. On the other hand, Wallace's racing team owner Denny Hamlin recently talked about Wallace's success on his podcast. The co-owner of 23XI Racing praised Wallace's ability to perform well under pressure. He said that Wallace has become battle-tested and may be ready for his first ever run in the playoffs. Denny Hamlin talks about the different ways Wallace did in the playoffs. While speaking on his podcast, Hamlin mentioned, "Really happy for him. I know that he's been super stressed over the last few weeks, and I think this was a test. He's battle-tested now. I think he's earned his spot in the playoffs. He did it by performing better than he ever has, and he's getting stage points, and contending more top 10s and more top 5s. So he certainly has deserved his place in the playoffs, and I'm excited to see where that 23 team goes in the playoffs." Hamlin also said that the tracks for the future playoff races will be good for him. This gave the driver more hope. Can Bubba Wallace get to the 12th round? Wallace would be dead last in points going into the playoff race this weekend at Darlington. If he wants to make it to the round of 12 after the third race at Bristol Motor Speedway, he needs to keep up his steadiness or win one of the next 3 races. Last year, he won his second Cup race at Kansas, which was his second win overall. With all that work, it might seem like he starts to get better as the season goes on. Taking into account that he beat Kansas, the number 23 team might even hope to win another game in the playoffs this year. The rest of the picture, on the other hand, is pretty clear. Tyler Reddick, who is also on his team, will be there to help him in the playoffs, but that's pretty much it. You either have to be steady and earn points, get out of the last 4 places, or win a race. So that's all we've got for today. We hope you enjoyed it. Tell us what you think of the video in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. We hope to see you in the upcoming video.